wanted to do a bit of sketchbooking, and I am going to use these markers, my sketchbook, and a black pen, and that's it for today. I decided to sketch some giraffes. So if you want to join in, grab yourself some art materials and let's get started. So, quick sip of tea. There we go. So this is my messy sketchbook that I use for all sorts of sketches. A lot of these were made during YouTube live sessions, so if you want to draw along, make sure you check them out. You can watch a lot of them back here. So, there we go. Just moving things around a little bit. I like to use a clip on my sketchbook. So I decided that I wanted to draw giraffes today for no other reason, and that just popped into my mind, and that's what I fancy doing. So that's why I decided to practice. And I have a really loose and free way on how to draw giraffes. I am just going to start with the basic sort of shapes, and I am looking at some reference photos. I am not working from my imagination today. I'm basically just creating a blob. So, of the animal. So, there we go. I have been super busy all morning editing lots of videos for my new course, which starts on the 1st of June, which is Saturday. So I've been really busy in video editing. And it's really nice that I had this scheduled, because it is a good reason to, it's a really good reason to take a break and to do a bit of art. So, there we go. So, deep breath. What have you been up to today? Is this a normal work day for you, or is there something else that you're working on, that you're doing? See, there you go. I really like that sort of blob technique, and it's something that I use quite often. It's a really lovely way of adding in a bit of shape and to get an idea of what you're sort of making first before you actually have to draw it out. So, and this is my favorite pen. I use it a lot. I go through stages. Sometimes I use it for like I don't use it for ages, and then I'm really glad that I sort of come back to it. But it is a Pentel brush pen, which is just wonderful for quick mark making and quick sketches, and it gives these really loose fluid lines. And the ink is waterproof, so you can paint over it, which is also really nice. Something I do a lot. So, there we go. I have been working on lots of different things recently. I'm preparing for Watercolor Week next month. I am creating for this course that I am starting on Saturday. And yeah, oh yeah, there's a new podcast that is that I'm launching on there we go. I quite like this one. Tomorrow there's a new podcast episode that's coming out with Emily from Emily's Notebook. Yeah, which I'm really looking forward to it. Her work is quite similar to mine, and it's just really lovely to connect and to yeah, to talk about someone else who creates courses and workshops and makes that into a business, and very successfully so as well. And this is the thing, we're sort of competition, but then also like sort of colleagues. I don't know, I'm very much a believer of collaboration over competition, so it's lovely to have her on the podcast and to ask her all these things and to learn from how she's doing things. And we spoke about all sort of things creative. So I edited that today and uploaded it, so that it's going to be live tomorrow. It will be here on YouTube as well. So this is quite a tricky pose because I'm sort of looking at this head from sort of underneath, if that makes sense. The giraffe looking up. But I don't want to do all the poses sort of the same because they, I wanted to keep it interesting and draw this animal from different sides in different poses. So I'm doing it on purpose, setting myself a challenge. So I think you can sort of tell what it is that I'm drawing, can you not? So is there any familiar faces here? Make sure you say hi. I love hearing from you and I love to know who's joining in. I'm a bit in two minds if I'm going to focus a bit more on like basic sort of drawing skills. I've been doing this quite a lot on social media, making like little videos for Instagram and stuff like that, or if I should focus a bit more on painting. I'm doing this watercolor week that's coming up, where I'm going to do a challenge where I'm going to fill an entire sketchbook in a week. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to fill an entire sketchbook in a week, and I am inviting people to join in. It's all going to be part of the community. And it's going to be quite a big challenge because it's an entire sketchbook that I have to fill in 1 week. So there we go. I think if you are quite new to drawing, you might really like this sort of blobby technique because it's a really lovely way of just creating a bit of an outline first to get an idea first of what it is that we are going for before you have to sort of commit to the final shape. Because even if these darker shapes, these darker lines, we make changes, there's quite a lot of how do you say that, like opportunity for change in there. So even though it feels like all these lines are quite permanent, they are not quite as permanent as you might think. So there we go. Hi Wanda, hi Abigail. Really lovely to see both of you. So I'm looking just on Pinterest at different giraffe pictures to get a sense of different sort of movements that they can make. Just having a bit of fun with it. I'm using my Tombow markers. I have a lot of markers that I have been given at this stationery fair where I was. 2 2 weeks ago, but I left everything at a friend's because I was traveling on to the Netherlands and to see family, so I didn't take it home. But I think I'm going to pick it up this weekend and then I can organize some giveaways. So yeah, make sure you stay tuned if you are interested in some watercolor markers or some pens. I literally received a whole bag full of art materials that I'm planning to organize some giveaways with. I think I'll do mostly in my creative community for members, but I can also I think there's probably enough to do a bit of an Instagram giveaway as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Thank you, Abigail. I really appreciate that. So, just having fun. So, have you ever done any drawing with pen? I love it. And I know that it can feel a little bit scary sometimes to draw without being able to use an eraser, because everything you add is sort of permanent. Everything you add is there to stay. But I actually really like that. So this one's a bit higher. I like the fact that these lines are permanent. And it actually makes me feel more creative and more free and more open to experiment. You'd think it will make you more careful, but I think once you get used to it, there's something really great about just letting every line be and not worry too much about creating the perfect lines. So I decided to host this on my phone again, because if I do that, the videos get recommended in the shorts feed, and I just wanted to see if that worked, if that meant that people would see my live session more, if they, I don't know, I just thought I'll try it out. So, there we go. So give him a bit of a smile. So you can see this pen is, like has a proper brush sort of tip, and that means that, yeah, so it's made out of hair, so it means that if I press down, say here, if I press down, I can create really thick lines, but I can also lift it and then create really thin, gentle lines. It is a pen that is used a lot for like manga and anime sort of type style art, style drawings. A lot of cartoon artists use this pen, and I am not a cartoonist by any means, but I love it as well. I love it for sketchbooking. I can tell there's quite a few people here, so that is really wonderful. Usually there's quite a few people from the US, which always surprises me, because I am based in the UK, in Cambridgeshire, and I spent quite a lot of time in Cambridge as well, in the city, because I have an art studio there where I work, where I paint from, and yeah, it just blows my mind that people can join from all over the world. I know it's something I should be used to from that already, but I still find it absolutely amazing. There we go. So this is what we've created so far. So let's find another picture. Maybe a lying down giraffe. Let me have a look. I'll do this one. So you can find all the pictures on Pinterest. I'll save all of them on my Pinterest board if you want to have a look at any point. So as I said, this is my messy sketchbook. I really love keeping a messy sketchbook, and it's something that I really recommend to all my students in my courses and classes, because it is really nice to have a place where you can just experiment and be messy. So, a quick sip of tea. we go. So I am going to draw this sleeping giraffe. So it's quite a big body. So these are water-based markers that I'm using here, these brush pens. Kind of soft tip. I like using the softer side of the pen. I don't really like, there's a fine tip as well here, but I very rarely use that. I like using the brush side. And so I really like using the brush side. But I realized recently that I don't really like adding water to them. I know a lot of people use brush pens for hand lettering. And that is actually something that I am exploring a bit as well. In my live sessions recently, I've added a bit more lettering. But I am more a doodler, sketchbook artist than a hand letterer. So I am also changing things a little bit. Here I can show you what my reference picture is if you're curious. Can I show you? So this is the picture that I am using just from Pinterest. No fancy photos. Unfortunately, no photos I took myself. I did go on safari a few years ago. And I do have quite a lot of giraffe pictures. Maybe I should dig them out at some point. I think it is definitely a good practice to work from your own reference pictures, but I'm not a very good photographer, so I don't do that very often. The use of reference pictures is always something that people have discussions about online. So, and I think, what do I think of that? I think using reference pictures is really great. I think we're really lucky to have access to so many photos nowadays that we can use to learn from and to practice. Like if you think of how people used to practice their drawing skills back in the days before there was any photos, you'd have to either find like dead animals to practice from, or go to the zoo if there was already a zoo, or travel somewhere and just focus much more on what you see like around you in your normal life. We have this wealth of information that we can use to draw from. So I think in that sense we're very lucky, and I think we should totally use it. Using reference pictures is always a bit tricky if the pictures are copyright protected, of course, because most pictures are, especially on Pinterest. So I think for something like this, when you're sort of sketching a little bit, I think it is okay. But for anything commercial, like even if you sell the artwork or if you do anything with the artwork, you have to be very conscious of that. So it's better to go to stock photo websites or to make your own photos, or there's a lot of Facebook pages where people share pictures, especially for artists to use. So that is one, I think it's something that we've spoken about before. So on here as well. So the yes, I'm starting to do more podcasts again. I'm also starting to do some solo podcasts where I talk about my own art journey and things that I've learned over the years. And I really like podcasting. I find it so much fun, especially with guests, to sort of connect with other people and learn about what they do. And it's just really, really nice to have a sort of purposeful conversation for an hour where you just talk about art. And we sort of agree beforehand that this is the topic we're going to talk about, which I think is really nice. It's sort of an interview, but then it's more, my style is more conversational. I'm not a very formal person. And but yeah, it is quite fun to sort of agree with someone with a similar interest that for the next hour we're going to talk about art, and then do that and then record it, and then other people enjoy listening to it. I just find it a lot of fun to do. So let's have a look. See, there is some photos where the animals are sort of in funny poses. I think I might just go to the next page. So this is what I've done so far. So you can see this way my sketchbook fills up quite fast, doesn't it? So new page, there we go. And I'm going to try one of these sort of funny poses. That one. So, and I like the blue, I like using these colors. I'm just going to carry on in the same way. Know that if you want to join in later, you can save this video to a list. You can create lists in YouTube. You can save this video for later, create a list, and then come back to it if you want to draw along another time. So, can you see that this is a giraffe? I think it's quite funny. So make the neck a bit thicker, not too thin. Of course, this neck should support the body. Hi Kidia, really lovely to see you again. I am good. I have been really busy with lots of different things. I have an art exhibition on Saturday that I'm preparing for in Cambridge. So if anyone is local, let me know. I can send you the details. It's open to the public. So I'm having an art exhibition on Saturday. I am starting a new course, collage illustrations, on Saturday. What else am I up to? I'm doing this podcast recording that I spoke about earlier. Yeah, lots of interesting, fun things going on. So have you ever noticed that a giraffe basically has sort of this furry mane, which goes over its spine, but sort of carries on to go into where its tail is. It's like almost like a continuous line. You're from London? I used to live in London for a long time. I've been in London for sort of 10 years before I moved to Cambridge to be a bit more in nature, mostly. It's not very far from London. It takes about an hour by train, maybe a little bit less than that. So I am back in London quite often as well for that reason. When I lived in London, I lived in Borough for a while, in South London, and I have lived in Islington, which was really lovely, and in Stratford. I've lived in a lot of different places. So you can actually still find a listing for Makings and Musings on Google Maps in Stratford. I'm just leaving it up because there's quite often people who find me that way. So I'm being a little bit cheeky and just leaving it, even though I nowadays sort of do everything online. All my courses and classes are online nowadays. So, there we go. I quite like this this little giraffe sleeping away. What do you reckon? Do I know any art classes around there? I don't, I'm afraid. I'm sure there is some. I've not really been in the area for a while now. I started to, so I originally hosted in-person art classes in Stratford, and then when lockdown happened, I started to do everything online, and that's actually much easier and much more fun for me, and it costs less money, and people can join from all over the world, so there was a really good reason for me to go back to in-person classes. So yeah, plus if I use my camera sort of from above, I can really clearly show people what I do a little bit better than when I'm how do you call it, when I'm teaching in person. So I know that in-person art classes always sounds really exciting, and it sort of is, because you have more direct contact with the teacher, and that's really nice. But I actually find that you can learn so much more from an online class, because it's much easier to show the exact moves that you make, and then your rationale, and how people are using the the materials. So I actually find it much easier to teach online, to show people what it is that I'm doing and why, and showing my rationale. I don't know what other people's experiences. I think the best thing about having an in-person art class is that you get to use the art materials, but then usually they're quite expensive as well. Whenever I have done art classes myself in person, you always have to pay quite a lot for the materials, and rightfully so, because they are expensive. Or you have to bring your own materials. So many live drawing classes, I think, where you draw from a person, where you really have a benefit of going in person. So, see, this is my blob for this giraffe. If you need any help, Kilo, just you can always contact me on Instagram, or if you have any questions or want me to look at your art. I do it quite a lot for my community members as well, so if you have any questions, just let me know. So, I don't know if you noticed this, but I usually become sort of looser and looser in my artwork the longer I am drawing. I usually start quite carefully, and then throughout the sort of process of drawing, I start to add more and more like messy lines and details. Hi Linda, really lovely to see you. Hope you're well. I've not seen you for a while. Hope you're doing well. So, this pink color is the shadow. But I'm not sure if that pink is really the right color for shadow. I was thinking that it would be a little bit darker. Not paying attention. So, there we go. Oh, I hope you enjoy your dinner. I see you need to go, which of course is absolutely fine. I hope you enjoy your dinner. So I'll just carry on a little bit longer. So, there we go. Let's add some ears. I really like doing more sort of tricky poses, just to challenge myself, and because I find it fun to do something a little bit different. So there we go. I am actually going to teach some classes at the Creative Festival, and not in London, in Margate in July. So I don't know if anyone is planning to go to that. Margate in the UK is about an hour outside of London, but then in the opposite direction from Cambridge. So yeah, if anyone's planning to go to that, make sure you check it out. So looks like he's leaning back a little bit, isn't he? This giraffe. Funny animals, the way they are built. Have you ever noticed that giraffes have really beautiful long eyelashes? Have you ever seen one in reality, on safari or in the zoo, or I don't know, maybe you live in Africa and they are in your backyard? Yeah, they have really beautiful long eyelashes. So we can add those in a little bit as well. Should we add some of those freckles so we can actually recognize what it is that we're drawing? So did you know that there's a lot of different types of giraffes with different marks as well? So they have different types of patterns based on the type of giraffe. So there we go. I think I'm going to say that she's finished. Let's have a look. So this was the sleeping one. I don't know if there's any new people here, so I'll have a quick look. We are just drawing giraffes today, so this was the first one that I did. You can see they're filling my page quite quickly. So I'm already on my second page. There we go. If you wanted to learn something like a specific animal or a type like a building or landscapes, or maybe an object like bicycles or helicopters, or I don't know, is there something that you really want to learn how to draw? I can have a look to see if I can help with that. Do a little session on them. Maybe a bit of a close-up of a giraffe. So I'm just seeing if I have a picture of a face. Maybe this one? So, there we go. So again, I'm just starting with a blob. So, and then this is the ear roughly. I'm just looking at the large shapes first. I always focus on the larger shapes first and then adding in the smaller details. Doesn't matter what the material is that I'm using or what it is that I'm drawing. So I'm just really focusing on the large shapes. Buildings. I'm not going to do that today, but yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind. I do quite a lot of urban sketching where I go outside and then sketch buildings. So it's a good idea. I love drawing buildings. there's so many like different building styles as well, so many different types of architecture to explore. It's a lovely idea, and it's nice for me to know what people want to learn as well, so I can keep it in mind, because I always have to think about, same in my community and in my course, I always have to think about new things to draw. So I usually just pick things that I find fun and that I want to do more of, which is sort of the benefit of being an art educator rather than doing commissions where you always draw what other people want. Yeah, sometimes it's nice to sometimes it's really nice to yeah, to get some ideas, get some inspiration. Sorry, Elizabeth, I don't know if I understand your question. Do you do the L background shape first and then put a line in? Do you mean for a building? When I draw a building? I often approach it quite in the same way as I do now. So doing the large shapes first and then add in the details. But it really depends on the type of building and the type of materials that I'm using, because I do quite a lot of watercolor painting as well when I'm outdoors. I think there's something about urban sketching and watercolor that just goes together really well. Sort of a traditional match, that is. Oh, the L was wrong. Okay, that makes sense, because I didn't really know what you meant. But I do. I'm putting, yeah, so as you can see, I'm making a bit of a blob shape first. And then from there, I am looking at exploring the details. And I know that sometimes when you first start out, it's really tempting to go in for lots of detail. But I would really encourage to sort of do the lines first, do the big shapes first, and then add the details later. And also, because when you go in for the detail, it can be really hard to sort of forget about the proportions and the sort of main shapes again. So, not sure if I'm explaining that well. When I first started out, I got really excited, for example, about the details around the eyes. There was always a part that sort of I was excited about, that I really liked in the photo, or a part that I wanted to practice or draw more. And then I sort of got sucked into that. And then you look up and you realize that one eye is here and the other eye is here, and they're completely wonky. And if you do the main shapes first and you work from large to small, you can do, so you first decide where the eyes are going to be before you add the detail. And then it's much easier to keep that overview, if that makes sense. So once, like, the more you draw, the easier it is to dive straight into the detail and to still sort of know the proportions and how things are in relation to each other. But that takes a lot of practice. So when you first start out, start by deciding how much space you're going to take on the paper and how large your drawing is going to be, where the main sort of areas are that you want to pay attention to. And by doing, like, for example, like this, a blob first, it really helps. I think it makes it much easier. And I don't really like to work with grids or with, you can have like a grid system where you do a grid first and you add all the details to it. I just find it really tedious and not really fun to do. So I much rather use a much looser approach and then get a bit of a wonky drawing. So that's more my personal style. So that's also what I teach people. But I know that everyone likes things like in a slightly different way. Everyone has different preferences. So I'm just adding in a little bit of shadow. So there we go. Is there something? Let me see if there's another detail that I can add in. So I thought maybe I can fill some of the space here by just adding in a few legs. Actually, I can use green for that as well. So there we go. So I'm just doing one of the hooves just to see in a little bit more detail what that looks like. I don't know if that really looks nice on the paper, but let's see. What these giraffe feet look like. See, sometimes we need to practice something purposefully and just decide on what it is we want to learn and focus on. So I'm just concentrating for a moment. Funnily enough, I find something like this much harder than doing the giraffe's face. I think it's all about just what you're used to and what you've practiced more, right? But something like this is almost a bit abstract. So I found a last little photo that I'm going to do. And I think I might start with pink. I'm going to use multiple colors, I think. So there we go. You can see that something like this, which is a close-up, I'm approaching it in the same way as I do the like further away pictures. So I'm just really looking at what main shapes do I see here. See, exactly the same as what I do for the entire body and the entire picture. So, and of course, if I draw this in color pencil, I would add much more detail, but all we're using is this pen and a little bit of green. So there's only so much detail that we can realistically add. So we need to be a little bit we need to simplify shapes a bit because of the materials that we're using. And this is something that people sometimes forget, that whatever they're drawing, the materials need to you need to adjust your expectation based on the type of materials that you're using. So You sort of see that it's going to be an eye. So there we go. Maybe I can add in some more slightly darker colors. See, I've got a bit of gray here and some blue, just to make it all a little bit more realistic. So this is going to be the darker sides of the eye. There's a bit of roundness here, which is hard to see. You see how the colors sort of blend in together. So there we go. I'm going to leave it at that. It's just a quick sketch. So there we go for today. I really hope you enjoyed it. You can see that there is a few giraffes on the page now. I often think that when people tell me that they don't have time to make art, that it really depends on the materials that they use. Like if you just use a few markers and a pen like this, you can make, like, how many did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 2 little sort of scribbles in about 45 minutes. So of course that is still 45 minutes, but even in 10 minutes I could have done 1 page. So thank you so much for joining in. Really lovely to see you here. I really love it if you like this video, and if you want to share it with people, that is very much appreciated. And yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.